All right, so we're going to do the human skull today, and then we're going to build off the human skull on Thursday and make a human face. And then on Monday, or on Tuesday, we're going to come back and start sculpting some armor for that helmet, and we're going to talk about different ways to get stuff done with the helmet. Some of these ways are going to be absolutely new to you, and some of these ways won't be, so let's get going. First thing we need to do with the human skull is really look at a human skull. Now, human skull's got a lot of detail in it and a lot of little bones and stuff like that. And while it's important to understand some of this stuff, it's not really that important for the sculpting purposes. You just need to know the forms, how this is a flat form that bends back inside of itself. This kind of bends out right here. And then this area kind of cups itself right there. And then this is your cheekbone, by the way. Which is also out to here. It's really hard to see from this, so there's a lot of dancing we're going to have to do. But let's take a look at what we might want to know and things we may be referencing. This right here is a general, just a simple version of it. There's a ton of different mini names for all this stuff, but we're just going to talk about it. The frontal, and the nasal, the maxilla, the zygoma, and the temporal, nasal 1 and 2. These are all separate bones. We have breaks in all these to make these bones separate. There's more to everything about it, but this is just good enough for us to get going. Like it doesn't have the hole for the foramen, and anyway, cut that. So let's get going and talk about this. So what I've done is I found a few pictures. I just went and did a search here, and what I searched up was anatomy of a human head or skull, and I got a bunch of these pictures, and some of these are great and some of these are not useful. Now what we're looking for is reference, though. So these are great for understanding the bone structure and things like that, but they aren't exactly great for reference purposes. This one's okay. Let's see how big it is. Let's see, image in a new tab. I mean, it's okay. It's not horrible. It gives you a little joint right here. I kind of like that. I'm not sure if I like that. I'm going to save this one, see if I like this better. It's good to have a bunch of different shots, so I think I will use this one. So let me make sure I saved it right. Yes. Probably should have named it better. Anyway, so I'm going to close that. And the other way to look for stuff like this is, instead of anatomy of a human skull, just say human skull reference, and then you can get idea. Really what we want is a side and a profile shot of a skull. I don't like this one because of the weird teeth on this person. It's not that there's anything wrong. This is the one that we were going to use, and we may still. This is a 3D model. This is not really what we want. I actually have a skull at my house from a full skeleton. And a fake one. It's not a real skeleton. What we're looking for too is something straight on. See how this looks like it's bent, but really what we want to see is how far out does this side go from this side. See how that's different? Right there on that side, that means you're not looking at it straight on to me. This is somebody's model, and it's not supposed to be straight on, so that's the reason they did it that way. Somebody's model much closer to straight on, but again, it's not real, so not that we're going to find a real one. This one's pretty good, but let's talk about this one. Let's look at this one first. So close that, open up Photoshop, and take a look at it. So the first thing we're going to notice is that obviously we have the two shots. Actually, let me open up that one we just downloaded. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. Yeah, kind of like this one. I like that we have the back, even though I think this is a artist representation of it, whether it's a sculpture or something real. I mean, like ceramic or something. I don't know, but it could have been a scan of a real skull. But what we're going to look at is this side here and this side here. If we look at this one here, you'll see that the nose cavity is a little bit in more. You can take a look at this one. It doesn't show that much. I'm wondering how much of a profile this is, or how much that looks like there. Kind of like this better. That's what makes me think this is more of a real, but I'm sure it's not. So let's just use this one. Actually, let me see one more thing. See, we can't see the curve of this, which is a bothersome, but we can see how this pops out and then fades back in. I actually think we're going to use this one this time. So what we're going to do is go crop, and then we're going to just crop out one of these suckers right here. And probably the best way to do this is to hold shift and crop. So it does a 360. I mean, it does a full uniform scale here, and at least then we can get something close. So we're going to take this one, we're going to save it. We're going to save this as new folder reference, and then just throw this in there, this in there, this in there, this in there, this in there. Okay. And then I'm going to actually make a new folder again. Used images. And come in here, and we're going to call this front skull. And not with a capital R there. All right. Just like that. And then we're going to come back out, undo. And then we're going to take the same thing that we just did, shift and drag so it's scaled evenly, and then enter, and then save as side skull. That. And we might as well just do these two. Oops, hold the shift. If you hold shift and then you hold the space bar, you can move your selection area around a little bit here. This one will just be used for reference and won't actually use for measurement stuff, but it's always good to have a 3/4 shot. Like that. I'm going to close this one. And then we're going to undo and do one more. Like that. Okay, so back skull. I'm going to close this one here. Sure. Okay. So let's come back and close this. I don't want to keep the same settings here. We're going to open that one. Let me open it up in here. Which one did I grab? The back. So I need 3/4 of these. Oh, there. Okay. So the way I like to do things, a lot of people put them side by side like I showed you a second ago. I like to put them all in the same place. Control A, C. Actually, we'll do... Yeah, it doesn't matter. Paste, and we'll close this one. Control AC. Oops. Material. Control AC. Paste. Close this one. And then Control AC. Then close it, and then paste. So the front side, all the sides right there. Okay. So the real ones that we really care about right now are the top, or the front, and the sides. We're going to call this side. Oops, or we're not. We're going to make up our own words. Side. We're going to call this front. And then we're going to take this side one and go 50%. Hopefully the right scale. They're the right scale, but we can never tell. Usually what I'll do at 50% is try and find some even placements here. So it looks like the chin's lined up right there, and if I hold shift, it looks like the top of the head's lined up. That's usually a safe bet. It looks like the bottom of the nose works perfectly too. The top of the eye frame, I'm looking at this right here. So that looks good. Oops. Dang it. Okay. Move back into spots. Okay, it looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll call this 100 now. We'll take a look at this from the side here. So the next thing we really want to do is make sure that it's evenly laid out. So what we want to do is say 448 by 448. Let's just take a look at this. Okay, so if it's 448, let's make it an even 450, just for our own brains. Okay, I just scaled it instead of used the other one because we're not using this anything else but reference. Okay, so I'm going to take my G tool, DX, to make my white selected there and just fill in this edge. So we have that all filled in, deselect. Now, what I'm going to do, I know it's right vertically on the other skull, so I need to figure out if it's 448, where's the center, and then where from there. So if I take this tool and I grab an edge out from my ruler, and if you don't have the ruler open, it's Control R to open the ruler, and then this is just the Photoshop stuff, and I throw it over here. I can see, well, what I'll do is this way too. I'll snap to this. So I can see right there in my, you want to have your Windows info open, but you'll see I have a width of 52 selected. Okay, I don't care about the height. So I'm going to grab this one and see what this one says, 58. So I could move this over. Deselect. Let's see, 1, 2 would be 54. And then 56, so 1, 2, 3 should be 55. Right there. Well, I'll be. Oops, I did it backwards. Nah. Deselect, go this way. 1, 2, 3. Let's do material here. Just this over 55, and then let's move this one, deselect, right there. Well, if I went to the nose tip, which I did last time, I think. Okay, so now I know it's evenly spaced. That one's important, but this one down here is the tricky one. Okay, so I'm going to go to G again, grab this layer, and fill it in, just so I have that outside set up. Okay, so do we want to make sure that these are evenly perfect? You know what? We're going to be doing symmetry for right now, so I actually do like to have it symmetrical, just straight down the middle. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab half of this head, actually the other half of this head, just like that. I'm going to copy it, Control C, and then Control V to paste it, and I'm going to Control T to make it transform. Then I'm going to snap this over to there, or I could use this button right there. And then I'm going to right click and say flip horizontally, bam. Now I know I've got a symmetrical head, so when I'm sculpting, it matches exactly right across. Now, is that realistic? Realistic enough, so, you know, we'll come back to making it asymmetrical after the fact. Okay, and plus we're going to build a face on this. We don't need it to be perfect. Okay, so there we go. Now we got that set up. I'm going to go ahead and collapse these on top of each other, so I have one mesh for this. Now I need to figure out, V, how far apart these edges are here. Right there. And there. Okay. M, it is 113, and obviously this one's less, 96. It's a little bit different. Deselect. So we're going to go V. This time we're going to go this direction. So 113. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. $104. $104. Okay. So G again, fill this in with white. Okay, now we have those two made. I'm only going to worry about these two, but if you want to put the other ones in there, they aren't as important. I guess you could make this one. This one, if you want to match it, it's the best way to do it. So we'll do this one above it, and then we'll do 25, and it should just more or less match up, except for it's not symmetrical. Now the one we want to match is this side. Sort of. You know what? I'm not even going to worry about it, but you could put this in here. I don't want you to pay attention to this, so I'm not even going to do it. If you're going to do it, you need to line them up perfectly, and just remember that a half of this is symmetrical. So I'm going to pull this back down here, call this front, and call this back. This 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to save this as not 3/4 skull, but master. And then I'm going to take each of these and export them out separately. So save. This will be side. Okay. This will be, oh my goodness, front, and you can use Photoshop files. So that's fine. And then we're going to take the back one, do the same thing. Oops, this one's still running at 25, so we need it to be 100. There we go. Save, and we'll call this back. And then the last one is 3/4 again. Okay. All right. So from now, we're going to go back into ZBrush, and we'll do that in the next